Good afternoon, card fans. Welcome to another episode of Uncommon Cards. This is episode three, so third time's the charm. So with us today we have Darcy. Would you like to introduce yourself, Darcy?
Yeah. Hey guys, my name's Darcy. I'm a Perth player. I play the One Piece card game, currently my only card game, and I'm also part of the team PX3.
Yeah, nice. That's cool. Would you like to just sort of give some people a bit of a history about yourself, how you stumbled across One Piece, some of your results that you've had, go stuff like that?
Yeah, sure. My first introduction to the card game was around set two at the start of 2023. I went to Japan with some of my mates, and when we were over there, we saw some of the cards, and it really intrigued me. So when I came back home, did a bit more research, got into the game, went to my first locals with one of my mates that I went to Japan with. Started on Green Odin from OPO1, and then from there just kept playing the game. Fell in love with it because it's my first card game, and I really enjoyed it. Like playing it, the playstyle is very fun, and it's a really easy introductory game into cards as well. So I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, nice. Did your mate that you went to Japan with when you went to the first locals, had he played card games before? Did he drag you out
Nah,
to like a Bandai store? Or you just both stumbled
nah, it
across it?
was it was me dragging him really, because I think I like bit the bullet and just like bought a box of cards, and then when they came in, I was like, oh yo, let's open this, and then we got some of the cards, didn't even know what alt arts were or anything, um, and then yeah, we just played some random decks. I think he played Whitebeard, and then I just tried out. I think it was Kinemon, um, and then, yeah, I then looked into the local area of where I can play. And that was when I found one of the local stores, and we both went there together. Realized that we were terrible. Uh, and then, yeah, it was a massive learning curve.
Yeah, yeah. I think you're right though. So for me, this is the first card game I've played too. I collected Pokemon cards through my youth and kept doing that, and then yeah, I wanted to play Pokemon, but it just didn't work out where I was with the kids for after like weekend sport. It just didn't work. So yeah, One Piece was the introduction. But yeah, yeah, that's cool. That's cool. So and sort of events. I played you at nationals in
Yep.
when was that? That was January, wasn't it?
Yes.
I thought I was doing pretty good, and then I came across you, and you destroyed me. And you were playing Bonney as well as Bonnie Mirror.
Yeah.
Uh, you you were running the is it the seven cost kid that you added on to when it
Yes.
becomes restores?
My list was very different. I wasn't too comfortable with 8 cost kit at that point in time. I felt like the meta it wasn't like a super great card as it used to be back when, like in OPO7, for example, it was kind of like a must have. But in OPO9, I hadn't found the list I liked yet, so I wasn't running 8 cost kid. I was instead running 7 cost kid,
Yeah,
and it actually won me a lot more games than I thought it would. So
yeah,
I
yeah.
was
I
happy with it.
remember you dropping two of them on me, and I thought to myself, oh, this is not looking good for me. And then I think after that, I was like, sort of crashed and burned. But yeah, and you've had some good results. I think you've done top 16 in online.
Yes,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, that
nice.
was I think back in OPO8 during the BY Luffy meta.
Yeah,
I pretty much just took the deck expecting to verse a lot of BY. I didn't change my deck or anything to verse Lucci's or other decks that were around at the time. I was purely just going for BY, and I think
yeah,
I ended up versing 5 or 6,
yeah, nice.
and I didn't lose to any of them, so
Yeah,
it
yeah,
worked out.
awesome. So, well, I guess that sort of follows on to the next question with regards to your deck choices. Uh, how do you go about your deck choices? Do you play the meta? Do you play counter meta? Are you just playing for something that you love to play?
It's definitely a mix of the latter two. I've never been a person that likes to play meta, and it's a bit of a childish belief, but I say if you have the cards, you shouldn't be removing other people's cards so that they can't play with them. So I stick to green, where you don't do that at all. You just control the board. They can play what they want, but they might not get to use those cards.
Yeah.
Um, and then when actually building my deck, I do go through the meta, but also what I'm more typically prone to versing, because a lot of the top decks that go around, like say during the BY Luffy time, there was BY Luffy, Dofi, and Purple Luffy, like for the 8.5 and OPO9 meta. So I wasn't versing a lot of Dofis at that time, so I didn't try and build my deck to purely beat what was at the time probably the best deck. I then went for my ways around the other decks at the time. So that was why I didn't necessarily build into 8 cost Kid, because it's a must card into Dofi,
Yeah.
but it wasn't as critical into your other matchups like BY Luffy or Purple Luffy and stuff like that.
Yeah. Yeah. Even with Shanks around as well, it didn't stick on the board very much there. Yeah. Cool. And so that's pretty cool. In West Australia, there where you are, the local scene is quite competitive. So,
Mm.
how has that super strong locals sort of guided your play style?
It helps heaps because like Perth is the origin of PX3 and also Eternal Magic. So we have a very strong like competitive scene when it comes to like the actual top tier like events that happen. So your regionals, whether online, offline, treasure cups, all that stuff, and even weekly locals. Especially if it's leading up to an event, you sort of get the couple of locals where everyone's coming in, and we're getting like 50 plus people, and it's a struggle each match just to try and get a locals win.
Yeah,
And then you're like playing against these people that have topped like names such as Zhao Yuan, like Shannon Cole, Jason Pan,
yeah,
Nicholas Koh, Kenneth Chu, like all of these people have topped before and are incredible players in their own rights. And you have to just verse them at locals, and you're like, oh, what do you do?
yeah,
So it gets you a lot of good practice.
yeah, yeah. No, that's amazing. Being in that environment where there is that sort of the very top echelon of players, do you guys bounce off each other a lot at those locals? Like discuss
Yeah.
cards that you want in decks and things like that?
Yeah. Not so much at locals, occasionally at locals, but say Nats, for example, I think it was like from October through to the end of December, we were just meeting at one of my mates' house, like a whole bunch of us, and we would just repeatedly test. And we had like a document that had like recorded win rates and all of that stuff, and that was just an amalgamation of like all of Perth's top players joining in for that. And we
Yeah.
I'd say it definitely helped out a lot.
So that document interests me because I've got like a just a Google sheet that I try to track some of my wins and losses against, and sort of like, if I did something wrong that led to that loss. That document that you made, how were you? So were you including sim games in that, or was that just pure face to face games where you were like, oh, I played XYZ and he was running this and I won or I lost, or and then some notes. You don't have to give away the secret sauce, but just
I'm happy to talk about it. It was only in person. It was either in person or through webcam. Because we did a couple games on just through webcam if people couldn't meet up. Um, and we all recorded it into like an Excel sheet. We had all of the leaders in like an XY, and then we would, I think, because one of the guys was tech savvy with Excel,
yeah.
I'm not. But he had all the like formulas for when you enter results, it'll like automatically change it and whatnot.
Okay, yeah,
So we ended up seeing like a pretty strong representation of what was the strongest, and like with testing as well, like if we're adding in like certain cards to try and beat a certain matchup. You can see that like really skew the results as well. And
Yeah.
so we then ended up having to like sometimes have two of the same leader. Like I think Shanks was a big one because we had a control Shanks and then a rush Shanks. So two separate builds, and you can't really congest them together results wise. So we had to have like multiple different leaders that had those type of stars where you could just interchange it, and then we had all the lists that had the win rates and whatnot.
Yeah, cool. That's really cool. Do you still use that document in the lead up to events, or is that solely for something as big as
That was
nationals?
yeah, I think it was definitely solely for nationals. Currently we haven't had any onlines for this set. Or at least I think there was, but I couldn't play any just because of personal
Yeah,
availability. But yeah, I think the next event's in August and it's Adelaide, I believe, and
yeah,
then maybe an online or two.
yeah,
But that's leading towards OP12 as well, so
yeah.
not many events this set, which
No.
sucks.
So I think there's a online the week before Adelaide, and then Adelaide regionals, and then they're all this set, and then the next batch of sort of online, and I think Brisbane is OP12.
Yeah,
So
okay.
yeah, I think.
Yeah,
Um,
I'm not sure.
yeah, cool. Do you use any of like I've seen the Kadi Kaizoku on YouTube, and he has a suite of tools that you can use now. Have you guys looked at anything like that?
I have personally, but I haven't gone too much detail into it. And I think that's mainly because the time that I have started to look at it was when there is no events like coming up. So I have like, like no incentive really to look into it just yet. But like me and my team, we test pretty frequently, I'd say. Mainly just online because of availability. It's hard to get each people, and like with Perth itself, it's hard when we all live in different areas.
Yeah,
We
yeah,
can't meet up, so
she's
it
pretty
tends to be
spread
just
out.
webcam and stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, cool. And something that you did recently as well, which it helped me a bit as well, which I really appreciate, was your free Bonney guide on Metafy.
Yeah.
How does writing something like that help you get better at understanding that deck, or is that just a mind dump and it doesn't help you? Is there something there behind that?
It oh, that's great. It did help, but not so much in the way that I was thinking it would help me. I wrote it purely as like a passion project, because with the Perth regional that came up, there was a lot of people in Perth that were wanting to try Bonney, and I was the resident Bonney player of Perth. So I think it was the Friday before regionals, uh, at one of the events at Beyond Odyssey, one of the local LGSs over here. There was, after the event, I sat down, had my deck list out, and there was probably about six other people that were just coming over, getting all their lists out. We're all comparing to each other, everyone being stubborn, trying to justify their own tech choices and all that stuff. And that kind of gave me the idea to write the guide. And I wasn't sure how to go about it, so I did message Zhao because he's done a guide. Actually, he's done multiple guides up until that point. So I just wanted to get a general format of how to run it or how to write it, and then I started listing things down, and then along the way, I was then realizing, oh, there's actually like a lot more I need to talk about, and then I'm a pretty forgetful person as well, so like actually trying to write these things down was helping me realize like the steps that I actually do take in matches of how to beat certain decks that a lot of people don't take the same approach to. So it was really helpful to me to write that down and then understand like, oh, this is actually how I'm playing this matchup and these are the cards that I'm looking for and whatnot.
Yeah. No, it's very well written. I really enjoyed reading through it, and it's free. So everyone go out and download it and read it and get a good insight on Bonney, but not too good. So I don't want people to beat me. So when you're going in to big events like nationals, I spoke about this with Elliot, and we were talking about those are days where you're in there and you're playing 8, 9, 10 games, and then potentially come back the next day and either playing in like side events or top cut. Do you have a specific approach you like to take into those big days?
Not so much. I wouldn't say it's a specific approach, but I do take a general mindset of like kind of treating it as a locals. So I go the first 4 rounds is a locals. So I just need to win 3 or 4 of those, and then I'm going to my next locals. And then so rounds 5 to 8, it's like another set. So that's how I typically treat my big tournaments, and it's worked so far. It feels pretty good. And then like one thing is I am a pretty forgetful person, as I said earlier. So I don't really focus on my previous rounds unless I've made a massive mistake and it's like really on the top of my head, like, oh, don't ever do this again. Um, but if I take a loss, I don't think about it too much, especially because most of my losses are to people that I know.
Yeah, okay.
So we just always talk about it friendly, like either during the game or after the game's done. We just like sift through and think of how are things done differently, how I could have maybe taken a different route to either clearing board or pushing life or stuff like that.
Yeah.
So
Just a bit of a friendly discussion at the end of each
yeah,
match, sort of like discuss it. Yeah, cool. Because I think you did that to me too. You were like, oh, it's a bit tough, and I had these out, and we discussed some cards and things like that.
yeah,
It was very those sorts of things. I find those interactions as well at the big events. They're magical, really. Like the just that little bit of insight that you can get. Because at nationals, I think I played like 3 PX3
oh
players.
yeah,
I was like, where are all these guys coming from? Um, and then at Sydney, all I did was play Eternal Magic. I was like, how am I playing all these people? I was like, they're everywhere. Yeah, cool. So that approach of breaking it down, yeah, that really relates to me because yeah, I mentioned in the last one, people that run marathons like to tell you they run marathons, but that's that
mm,
breaking it down into
yeah,
I've run 5Ks. Now I run my next 5Ks. Yeah, but that's an easy trick of the mind for me to implement, and so that's a really wonderful idea. I appreciate that one. So you came in blind and to a very strong local scene. Was there any advice that you received at that start there that you could pass on to people that are coming in now about sort of steps and strategies you can take to improve your ability to play? Like um, any sort of suggestions there?
I'd say if you're getting started, just if you come from a background where you've either watched One Piece or read One Piece or whatever, play a deck of a character that you like. Because I think it's instead of learning the game immediately in a competitive format, just learn how to play for fun, basically. That was how I got myself into the game. It's how I've seen other people treat the game, and they always have a lot of fun when they do it. Um, and then once you've got your core understandings and fundamentals, and even just a general game plan, you can then start branching out into other decks if you want to take the game competitively. And then if you don't want to take it competitively and just want to like keep it friendly, just go to locals, have a good time, just branch out into other leaders that you think would be fun, or even just characters that you enjoy.
Yeah, yeah, that's very much our local scene here. Is there's not I wouldn't say there's not many people at our locals that are meta chasers. Like I don't think there's really any. Everyone seems to play a deck that they love, and then sometimes those decks will come into meta, which is fun because then you can sort of rib them a bit and say, "Hey, are you
Mhm.
chasing meta, whatever." But yeah, I find that really interesting as well when there is that variety of decks because you'll sit down and someone will have iceberg and you're like, I don't even know what this does me. So that learning that as well, like how all those other decks function, is really cool. Cool way to approach it by just playing characters that you like, right? So
Yeah.
yeah. Um, and my son, he's 9, and he was down at regionals with me in Sydney, and I think he went 3-6, so pretty good for a 9-year old. But his strategy for learning other decks is he just gets out every single bulk that we have every now and then, much to my wife's dismay, and spreads it all over the floor, and then just picks up cards and goes, "Oh, did you know there's a card that does this, Dad?"
Yeah.
No, I didn't. I don't know if you'll ever see that card again, but his mind is like a steel trap. He just knows every single card. It's insane, which is cool. This has been really insightful for me this so far. Is there anything that you wanted to sort of talk about in terms of that, that you think aspiring competitive players need to like really knuckle down on? Like, how often are you practicing and stuff like that?
I've slowed down recently, but again, I think that's just because there is no like big tournaments coming up. But I have been playing a bunch of like off meta recently. So my big thing is that I pretty much only play green. Um, so this, like probably the last month, I've been switching it up every week, going to locals with different things. I and the main reason I did that is because I found a comfortable Bonney list that I really enjoyed, so I knew I didn't need to test it anymore, pretty much. So I then went on to Shirahoshi for a bit, tried that out. I then went on to Jinbei, tried that out, and then I went on to Carrot for most recently.
Yeah,
With the new starter deck stuff, it's good to try it in other decks.
yeah.
So yeah, I've been
Carrot's
really
a bit of a
enjoying.
sleeper.
Yeah, it is actually. It's surprisingly good. It does well
Yeah,
into everything but the most meta deck.
yeah, yeah.
I recommend
Um,
giving it a try.
yeah, that's yeah. I've only played green, so I just went Uta into Bonnie. That's all I did.
Fair
I got
enough.
the cards, so I was like, I'll just keep using these cards. So, which is good. So, do you have any shout outs or anything like that you want to acknowledge that have helped you along the way?
Yeah, the main one being my good friend Nathan Ewan. He's the one that I brought down to the locals with me. We've been there for each other pretty much since the start. And then big shout out to my team, PX3, the guys like Shannon, Kevin, Dominic, and then big man Jimmy, Moving Boss. They've all been really helpful with my journey along the way. So I couldn't appreciate them more.
Yeah, cool. We'll drop some links in there in the description as well, so people can check out PX3 and your Metafy and all those things there. Um, I guess yeah. So I'm sure you saw it before, but the sort of last way I like to finish is asking, are you a manga, anime, or not at all,
Hmm.
just a card fan?
I was I started with the manga, sorry, the anime, but then now I'm pretty much manga only. Unless it's a big fight,
Yeah,
then I'll watch it. I'll rewatch it.
yeah, nice. It's hard to avoid those big fights on the snippets and things like that on the reels
Yep.
on Instagram as well. So
Yeah.
spoilers everywhere, but yeah, no, really appreciate you coming on.
Yeah,
Bit
no
of a
problem.
time
Thank you
zone
for having
difference
me.
there between us and Perth, but some really insightful stuff there for me in that, like the tracking, how you wrote down Metafy, and it helped you sort of really align how you play and your style there. That's really cool. And just going through and playing for fun and then branching out so you understand more gameplay that way. Like
Yeah.
that's something that I think is really, really cool and really important. Um, so yeah, thanks for being on. Um,
Thank you for having me.
Hopefully, we don't have any more mirror matches at any big events, and Bonnie can go to the top. Yeah, go Bonnie.
Yeah, can only hope.
Yeah. All right. Cheers, mate. Thanks for being on.
Thanks, everyone.